WHPC has been nominated for 11 big 2024 Intercollegiate Broadcasting System Awards, including Best Sports Interview, Best Use of Video in the Radio Studio, and Best Use of Sound Effects. Thanks for listening.
Voice of Nassau Community College.
This is the award-winning 90.3 WHPC HD Garden City.
Listen on your smart speaker.
Play WHPC.
And available on Odyssey, TuneIn, iHeart, and on the WHPC app.
90.3 WHPC.
High fly ball, right field deep. Canseco back to the track, looking up. It is off his head, it looked like. And over the top, a home run.
It's been a while since he's seen a hole that big. I pride myself and think of myself as a man of faith. As there's a drive in a deep left field by Castellanos, it will be a home run.
He starts to come, and then he pulls out.
Josh Bynes has been coming all night long, but then he pulls out, and it's just hard.
2 inches short, maybe less. That's the story of my life.
Receiver coach has been blown away by Crabtree's hands and his ability to suck in these balls.
And the 3-1. Popped up. Castillo. Dropped the ball! He dropped the ball! Here comes Teixeira! And the Yankees win! Oh my goodness!
Listen in as we tackle everything in the world of sports right now. Throw your hat in the ring at 516-572-7440. This is WHPC Sports Talk on the voice of Nassau Community College, 90.3 WHPC.
Wilson in the second half was 18 of 21 for 209 and 2 touchdowns. What was somewhat of a turbulent week around the Jets, with him getting the call back after being a starter and benched after a couple games.
Monday, December 11th. Welcome to another Monday edition of WHPC Sports Talk. Here on the voice of Nassau Community College, 90.3 WHPC. You heard it. The Jets won it yesterday. How are we feeling about that? We'll get to that in a moment. Before we get to anything else, let me introduce everybody. I'm your host for today, Joshua Umahi, joined by Ross Levine, Devin O'Shea, Liam Flynn, Eric Williams. And you yourself, you can call up the show at 516-572-7440. Let's get all the way into it. Let's just jump right into it. The New York Jets moved to a amazing 5-8. 5-8. They shocked the Texans. I don't think anybody saw. If I would have told you yesterday's game would have ended in a 30-6 final, who would y'all would have said won?
Houston?
Yeah,
easily?
Yeah, that's that right answer. Right answer. You would think Houston, you would think CJ Stroud, but this is why, no matter how much we can criticize the NFL for certain things, every single week, this is the one thing the NFL has going for it. You're bound to just witness something you never would have thought would happen. And that's the Jets winning 30-6 over this sensational rookie quarterback, CJ Stroud. And Zach Wilson, of all people, outplaying him. Zach Wilson in yesterday's game, 301 yards, 2 touchdowns. That's pretty good. That's almost a career game for him. Definitely a season-high game for him. We know he had that Sunday night game versus the Chiefs, who we'll definitely get to later in the show.
I was just going to say, this whole season, Zach Wilson got benched. Everyone's calling for his head. Yet he's outplayed C.J. Stroud, Patrick Mahomes, Jalen Hurts, and you can make the argument that he outplayed Josh Allen in Week 1.
Yep. Amazing. I guess he's a big-time player. Listen, you heard it in the intro of Kevin Harlan, just the amount of turmoil the Jets have gone through. Tim Boyle was their starter for 2 games before last week. He gets cut, and my theory I said on Friday was that he was the leak that, Diana Rossini and Zach Rosenblatt at The Athletic, they reported that news on Zach Wilson not really wanting the starting job no more. In his mind, like, yo, why would I do that? I have everything to lose and nothing to gain. Why would I do that? But apparently he had a lot to gain because he just put on the show and put his name kind of back on the map. More on that later, but C.J. Stroud, that's a concern for Texans fans. C.J. Stroud in this game, and big credit to the Jets defense. 10 of 23. 91 yards for a guy, C.J. Stroud was the leader in passing yards per game as a rookie before this game. Before yesterday's game, they held him to 91 yards. He was sacked 4 times, so you can cut that total down to 54 total pass yards for the game for Houston. He did leave the game in the fourth quarter after suffering a concussion. That damn MetLife turf, you mix it in with the rain, and it's like slamming your helmet down on concrete. That was a nasty-looking concussion, but hopefully he's all right. He was able to get off the field at least. New York Jets, 347 total yards of offense at 268 yards passing, 79 rushing. Houston, just 135 total yards for the game. Again, credit to that Jets defense. So after all that, what did this game tell us, if anything?
The Jets don't know how to lose correctly. That's exactly what it showed us. The defense can show up doing whatever game they want to play in, and Zach Wilson, he showed up like he did, but obviously C.J. Stroud losing Nico Collins in the middle of the game, losing Tank Dell last week, obviously much of a difference in the game. Damian Pierce has not been who he's been all year. Dalton Schultz missing. So obviously C.J. Stroud was already, to start off, missing everybody. He was basically Patrick Mahomes out here having to throw to nobody. But this just proved to us that the Jets don't know how to lose. When they have to lose, they seem to always come out with the win. When they need to lose, they win. When they need to win, they lose. It's the same thing every year.
And also, just shocking to me that C.J. Stroud going into the game, and I think even after this game, is the NFL's leader in passing yards. The Jets held him to 91 all game and 28 in the first half, which was astonishing to me. And yesterday was one of the first times that I didn't set my 12:55 alarm to wake up, and I was like, I'm just going to sleep in. They're going to get smacked around by the Texans. So I wake up about 5-3, and I see that it's 7-0 in the third quarter, and I'm like, okay. This is a shock to me. They've somehow kept the Texans' offense in check, and then they go out and they win 30-6. My thing is with this is that obviously the pressure's off. Zach Wilson had really nothing to play for, and now he finally gave us a really good game. And it all has to do with the pressure. This he knows he's not coming back next year. He knows that he's not going anywhere this season. They're not going to make a run at things. You're not going to get into the AFC play. You're not going to get into the playoffs as an AFC team when you're 9-8. This is the best we're going to get.
9-8's probably not going to do it. If you look at the AFC playoff picture right now, it's probably not even going to get it done.
So if
they won out, it's not going to happen.
So this is just, there's no pressure on Zach, and now he gives you a career game against a team. Now let's just be real. The Texans defense, not horrible, but also not great. Basically middle of the pack. You could say average, mediocre maybe.
I mean, I gotta say, it's as much as there's probably some Jets fans that probably didn't want to win. It was important for Zach Wilson to have a career game. It was important for him.
For what?
His future.
His ego?
No, for his future. Like, just his career. I mean, like, if he plays
for his
great
resume?
for the rest of his career, this season, if he plays great, then you know what? I guess it ups a little bit of his trade stock. I mean, I'm not mad. Like, listen, the Jets defense has been good all year. I'm not going to get mad at them for playing as well as they did.
But here's the thing. It's the first time we've seen any sort of imagination from Nate Hackett.
I agree. It's frustrating, but I'm not mad at the players for trying to go out there and...
No. You can't be mad at the players for trying to do their job, and that's to play good football and to win football games, no matter of, where they're at in the draft and next season and what the fans want. They've got to go out and win football games. The problem I have, though, it was Nate Hackett finally deciding to run some decent plays and to call a decent game. Jeremy Ruckert was getting targets for the first time ever. Breece Hall is a receiving back, got 9 targets, had 8 receptions for almost 80 or almost 90 yards, Breece Hall. And it's about time that we're seeing the Jets and the offense kind of put something together. The O-line looked a lot better than it has. It looked a lot better than it has all season. It looked like a decent O-line. Didn't look great, but did what it needed to do in the plays that it needed to.
What would you rather have happen if you're a Jets fan? Getting blown out in every game, or Zach Wilson plays great for the last month of the season.
If Zach Wilson plays great the rest of the year, he's going to be the backup again next season. I think this is, and now we need to take it week by week and just see what happens. Deep breath, because I am getting frustrated that now all of a sudden they want to do something. Now Hackett wants to put together a decent play call. Now Wilson wants to play a decent game, right? Now I'm getting frustrated because I know what's going to happen. If week after week he puts together 275, 2 touchdowns, no interceptions, maybe one here or there. If he does that week in and week out, this whole regime, which we know isn't changing, is just going to say, you know what? I think he's finally found his role as a backup in this league. He's finally found his role as a serviceable quarterback in this league.
That's the only thing this game has showed us whatsoever. Like, this game had no impact whatsoever.
No, not at all.
This loss only brings the Jets draft stock down more and more, going from 4 wins to 5 wins. But this is just basically a Zach Wilson game, trying to prove himself to get the backup job next year. From how he's looked all year, he hasn't looked like he has deserved this backup job behind Aaron Rodgers at all. So this game was him trying to prove himself that he could back up Aaron Rodgers if needed next season.
But he can't. Can we just all agree that he can't?
No. He can't.
No matter what, even if they do win out, and he does put up decent stats every single game.
They're not winning out. They're playing the Dolphins next year.
No, I know, but
99-yard interception.
Worst case scenario. Absolute worst case scenario, this guy goes out and does his job and then some and beats decent teams. It's the worst possible thing that could happen to the Jets, because they're just going to run it back again. They're going to say, all right, it took a little while, and we all know New Yorkers are impatient. Everything's very quick. But it's going to be the worst case scenario for the New York Jets, because they're going to bring him back.
So you're saying even if Zach Wilson hoops these final however many games, 4 or 5 games, and he impresses, and the Jets do have some decent opponents on the schedule, so you're saying even if he does that, you have no trust in him next year as a backup?
It just has to be 1 week, though. It really does, because we were expecting Aaron Rodgers to be coming back. He was supposed to be coming back in the Commanders game for the 24th. So if Zach Wilson can win this away game against the Dolphins, the last 3 games of the season, Aaron Rodgers was planning on playing those guys.
He was planning on it. Let's just say if he's even healthy, first of all.
So we're not even saying Zach Wilson has to win out. If Zach Wilson could beat the Dolphins,
but are we really convinced that Rodgers is going to come back?
This is what the Jets as an organization has done. They've given this team hope when there's no hope needed to be given.
But here's what I'll say: that's on the Jets organization. That's
Absolutely.
their problem. Like that's not the fans' problem. Like that's the organization's problem. Like.
But you have a solid pick right now. Lose. Just lose.
What if I told you it's going to Las Vegas for Devontae Adams anyway? So it don't really matter where it falls.
That could be a possibility of what happens.
I think it's a big possibility.
Could be, yeah.
Considering Aaron Rodgers runs the franchise, as we've all seen pretty clearly, I think it's a big possibility.
It sucks that, the best thing for both New York franchises in football is to lose. That's what sucks. It sucks.
Ross has been saying it since week 1.
I said it week 1
since Aaron Rodgers went down.
Yeah, I mean, tonight I want the Giants to lose. It's frustrating that I have to root for this. It's so frustrating. But
the fact that after a Giants win, the Giant fan will be frustrated after it.
Yeah, I'm not a delusional Giants fan. I'm actually going to be pissed off if we win.
Here's the crazy thing about the Giants: if they lose this game, they move into the top 3 in the draft.
Good.
If they win the game, they're a game out of playoff contention.
I want the pick. I want the pick.
Where's Corey David?
Screw the conference. Screw the conference. I want to lose every game. Screw it.
You don't want to see Tommy DeVito in the playoffs, Ross?
No, he sucks. Why can we please stop with this DeVito story? He's a nice story, but he sucks. We scored 10 points against the Patriots. And this is why I wish, by the way, before we go back to the Jets, this is why I wish the Patriots just made the freaking kick. Because guess what? Now we're going to have this stupid false hope.
They was playing chess. I don't know what to tell you. You think Bill Belichick...
Bobble the knee. Just take the knee and bobble it.
Do you think maybe Robert Kraft sent a message down in that game yo, if you just want to groove this kick, we're not going to be mad at you. Just go ahead.
Yeah, but
we don't need to make the kick.
So they could get their next Tom Brady for the next 18 years.
Exactly.
Be Mitch Trubisky.
Playing the long game.
Well, here's the thing, though, with the Jets. It would have been just as bad to look, I think, for the coaching staff if they lost 10 in a row to end the season. That's what would have happened.
But it wouldn't have mattered for the coaching staff. They were going to come back regardless. And I don't know. I just don't think if Zach Wilson wins out. Here's the thing. I don't think Aaron Rodgers is coming back. It doesn't matter if they're winning. It doesn't matter if they're losing. I don't think he'd be healthy at that point. We've never seen it ever. Anybody come back from an Achilles injury that quickly. It's taken 6.5 months, and that was the fastest. Now all of a sudden we're expecting a 40-year-old to come back in 3 months to just cut it in half.
It once a week to go on a podcast.
Yeah, and that his rehab has been whatever he's done. He's gotten on McAfee, and he's like week after week. All right, I wanna come back. December 24th is the date that I'm targeting, but it's just for what reason? It's not to help the team out, because at that point, if the Jets had came back from 4-8. And got themselves into playoff contention and gave Rodgers a decent reason to play. If that's the case, why change anything if they're doing well? If Zach Wilson and the team finally believes in Zach Wilson and he's going out there and winning game after game, he beats Miami in Miami. Why would you take Zach Wilson out?
That's a great point, and that's a perfect segue to this quote I wanted to read from cornerback DJ Reed for the Jets on what Zach Wilson told him before the game. Again, Zach Wilson, 300 yards passing, 2 touchdowns. This is what Zach Wilson told DJ Reed before the game. This is actually a direct quote. It's not through a reporter. Zach Wilson actually told DJ Reed this directly, and he didn't go snitch to a reporter like some others might have.
Tim.
Quote,
Allegedly.
Quote, he told me I've got nothing to lose. He said, what's the worst that could happen? I get benched again? That's what he said, and that's the way he played. It showed, end quote. So, there you go.
It's a decent mindset, but is it going to last? Is this great game going to get to his head over the next week? He's got all this time to think. Oh, I'm good. I got to impress Aaron. I got to make sure that he knows.
That's the thing. He's got to stay humble, because that's a great, like you said, great mindset to have. But if it's just a 1 week thing and it's after this whole garbage stuff with the reports and everything that we don't know if Zach Wilson really did say, I don't want to start again. But this has got to be a consistent thing, because if it's like, oh, I'm Zach Wilson, I'm the man right now again, I'm him. If he's carrying that mindset again, we know what's going to happen.
And we've never seen him put 2 games back to back in a row and say, "Wow, those were competent games from a quarterback." He's never done it. He's had good games, and then the week after, he's had down games. And I'm not going to sit here and say, "Oh, it's because his mindset wasn't right," and "Oh, that's because he was thinking too much of himself." I don't know. I can't speculate on that. But it's definitely not something. I know this. You could tell that this kid, if he's not a head case, he's half a head case. And he has some sort of issues with the media and the big market. So all signs point to Zach Wilson kind of, I don't know, losing it after a little bit, losing it after a big game, getting too confident, too cocky. I don't trust him to put back-to-back games together.
Got to keep that mental right if you're Zach Wilson. But once again, a banner performance for Zach Wilson yesterday versus the Texans. Next game, the Jets, they play in Miami, like we said. See what happens next week.